This is Prey. No. Not that one. This one.
Oh my god!
We've got some stuff to talk about. Let's go. Prey was a game released in 2006 after a rather storied development cycle, which lasted well over a decade. Development began in 1995 with famed game designer Tom Hall leading the team. However, that wouldn't last for very long, as under a year, Tom left to join his friend John Romero's newly formed company, Ion Storm. That went really well. The new director took some of Tom's ideas, such as alien abduction, and added quite a bit on, such as a massive biomechanical alien spaceship seeking to assimilate all life. Wow, crazy stuff. They also decided to come up with a new character. This one would be a Native American Cherokee man. And in a fit of creative fervor and brilliance, the team named the character Talon Brave. An act of such glorious brilliance that it would be unmatched until the creation of David Cage's magnum opus, 2018's Detroit Become Human. A sensitive and subtle look at the human condition. What a creative name. This early portion of the development cycle was mainly focused on the development of a new engine, one that could handle movable portals. It was this very engine development that would leave the team to stagnate despite their impressive showings at the 97 and 98 E3s, demonstrating the use of their portal technology. It would seem that the development of this technology caused insurmountable problems to occur at the engine level, problems that 3D Realm developers were apparently not ready to handle. So the project was put on hold, with a single contracted programmer hired to work out the kinks in the engine. Eventually, 3D Realms would just give up, and the project would die. That is, until 2001, when engine technology finally caught up with the team's aspirations, and portal technology was widely available and accessible. They decided to license id Tech 4, the same engine used on Doom 3. However, I guess 3D Realms kinda got tired of bothering with the whole thing. I mean, it had been a lot of trouble. So they contracted Human Head Studios to make the game. They provided Human Head Studios with all the previous resources that they had to use as a base for the new project. Human Head Studios decided to use a lot of the previous ideas from the project in their new game. They kept the original idea from Tom Hall of an alien abduction and the Native American protagonist. However, this time they named him Tommy. The game would also make heavy use of portals and gravity, or anti-gravity. The story of 2006's Prey is a fairly simple one. You play as Tommy, a cynical and disenfranchised Native American man living on a reservation with his grandpa Anisi and his girlfriend Jen. After speaking with his grandpa about some ominous hoodoo...
Anisi? What are you doing here?
I sense great change on the winds. I came to warn you.
Save it, grandfather. You know I don't go for that shit.
Listen, Tommy. You cannot turn your back on your heritage any longer. It will give you strength.
Strength? For what?
To save yourself. To survive.
Survive? What are you talking about, Anisi? Go home.
My place is here, by your side. You will have need of me this night.
Sure. Whatever.
And dispatching some racists in his girlfriend's bar.
Hey, Tommy, are you crazy?
The roof is torn off and all three are whisked away into a horrible, horrible place. Let's watch. Wow, that was awesome. At this point, the game had sold me. With an opening like that, how could I not be excited for what was to come? Sweet. This horror roller coaster show is called the Sphere. It's that horrible biomechanical spaceship that I talked about earlier. The art design of this place is freaking amazing. Even the weapons are alive. Gross. And it features the world's cutest grenades. Eventually, Tommy is saved by some weird hobo-looking man who destroys part of the track and sends Tommy careening into some weird, goopy hole.
Shit! Oh no!
Now free, Tommy's new mission is to free his grandpa and his girlfriend from the aliens' horrible clutches. Then eventually you'll show what happens to the grandpa.
I shall await you in the land of the ancients.
Oh my god, no! No!
Ouch. Right after Grandpa's turned into lunch meat, another weird hobo comes and turns off the machine and opens the door.
Moving. The hunters will be here soon.
Then dies immediately. Cool. With his grandpa dead, Tommy's now set on freeing Jen before she becomes lunch meat. But before that, his grandpa comes back. What? Tommy gets taken to the spirit world, where grandpa's living in the land of the ancients, aka Colorado. It's here that Tommy gets in touch with his spiritual side and learns some wicked cool powers and gets a ghost bow. Tommy's now able to project himself out of his body and interact in limited ways with the rest of the world.
You may now return to your body.
Neat. Now not even the sweet embrace of death can save Tommy from this horrible fucking nightmare. Instead, when he runs out of hit points, you're sucked to the spirit world for a momentary minigame of shooting some weird bird creatures. For every blue one you hit, you get some spiritual energy back. And for every red one you hit, you get some HP. Eventually you're sucked down a hole and back into your body, so you don't have very long to collect HP, before you're sent back to that waking nightmare that is your life. Sweet. The ability to return from the grave has many ramifications on gameplay. At first, I thought I liked this change. It meant not loading a save every time you died, but towards the end of the game it just kinda killed all tension. I wasn't worried about dying because no matter what, you come back to the fight in the exact same place you left it. The enemies don't even get reset. So you can just bang your head against a wall of enemies and eventually you'll kill them all. Doesn't matter how many times they kill you. The same for bosses. They don't reset at all. They have the same health as when they killed you. So you can't really lose. The rest of the story is pretty bland. Tommy eventually meets up with a group called the Hiders, who are led by a priestess. They're escaped prisoners working to free others and overthrow a mysterious figure called the Keeper. Tommy helps the Hiders and they help him free Jen. Finally. And then she's immediately captured again. Sweet. Also, a mysterious figure called the Mother has been talking to Tommy in his head, uses that telepathic link to find the Hider base and kill them. Anyway, now Tommy's on a one-way trip to the top of the sphere, where the Mother's informed him that she's holding Jen.
The city is many hundreds of your miles tall, human. You are at its base. Your woman is being held near the top. Can you possibly desire her enough to scale such height?
Oh no. He tells you that it's over 100 miles to the top and that there's absolutely no hope. But up to this point, you've been doing nothing but jumping through portals, so I don't really see what distance has to do with anything. You cover arbitrary amounts and arbitrary amounts of time. Speaking of which, about 5 minutes later, you're at the top of the spire fighting Robo-Jin. Turns out the mother's turned her into some sort of horrible monster. Oh well, time for a mercy killing.
Jen. I love you.
Emotion. It clouds your judgment.
Fuck you! Come out and fight
After
me, you
putting
cunt!
down the old girl, Tommy's now set on revenge, so he's trying to find the mother. So Tommy murders his way to the very tippy top of the sphere. Or middle, I don't know. It's hard to tell where the hell you're going. And there you finally find the mother. How lewd. She tells you that life was seeded on Earth a long time ago, by the sphere, as a resource, I guess. And they come and harvest the humans? For what, I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, she wants you to become the new mother. So you kill her. And Tommy's like, well, maybe. This is pretty cool. And Grandpa's like, nah. Remember. Something. Tommy's like, alright, I guess I'll drive it into the sun. And he does. And then he's back in Colorado alive? With Anakin and Obi-Wan? I don't know.
I'm so sorry.
Also, is it just me, or does Jin's microphone sound terrible?
It feels like coming home. I only wish you could stay.
I can't?
Jen's spirit resides here now. But you...
So the game's over. Except there's a Stinger trailer after the credits. Wow. The Stinger basically teases a Prey 2. A Prey 2 that we all know will never come. How sad.
But not the way we expected. I was rescued by powerful beings. They've taken notice of you and have sent me to find you.
What are you talking about? No one knows what I did up there.
Not on this world, no, but your actions are well known elsewhere.
Prey's shooting mechanics are rather standard for the time period. Guns feel decent with pretty strong impact, but most of the time enemies don't really feel like they're getting hit. Overall, I'd say Doom 3 did it better. Outside of the shooting mechanics, the main draw is that of the puzzling. A lot of shooters of the era had puzzles, but this one seems to put a lot of focus on them. And despite that focus, most of the puzzles turn out to be fairly mundane, and the tools you have to solve those puzzles never really change. The formula for most puzzles in the game is this. You encounter some sort of roadblock. It's usually a force field, which your body can't pass through, but your spirit can. Use your spirit to go through that roadblock. There's likely a switch over there that you gotta press. That switch will turn off the roadblock. You go back to your body and then you can proceed. There's also some portal puzzles. These usually involve the oft-mentioned movable portals. And combined with your spirit mechanic, these are some of the more interesting puzzles in the game. And involve you going into a portal, using your spirit to leave that portal, and pressing a button which moves it. Then, returning to your body, you can exit the portal in a new location. But these are always spelled out for you in advance. You never have to actually do any solving. You get to an area, you can't find out how to move on, and then you see the panel, you push it, it moves a portal, and then you go, oh, okay. The game also frequently makes use of gravity walkways. Normally they're off. You gotta find out how to turn them on. Sometimes there's a movable section. These fall into a similar category as the previous puzzles. Usually you walk up as your body, press E to become your spirit, push a button which causes that section of gravity platform to move. Then you go back to your body and move on with the game. Even the final section where the main boss, the big bad evil mother, challenges you to solve this room in order to save Jin. But it's super easy. All in all, the puzzling kind of fell flat for me, and the shooting mechanics, while adequate, didn't really make up for it. All in all, I really liked Prey, but it had some major faults. The story, while bland, was pretty interesting and unique. It's rare you see a Native American as the protagonist in a game, and it even goes so far as to show some of the culture, which I think is super interesting. And the whole atmosphere with the sphere is super compelling. Sure, the biomechanical sort of flavor was kind of done in Doom 3, but they did it here pretty uniquely. I would say Prey is a product of its time, but it's clearly the product of multiple times and multiple people over the course of 10 years. Honestly, I think we're just lucky that it was as good as it is, and I really appreciate it for existing. And I really appreciate that the developers decided to do something unique instead of rehashing something we've already seen, even if it really wasn't that amazing.